Aviation. This is, of course, a segment that has had a very tough quarter gone by. The months ahead as well do seem to be pretty tough. Even the domestic airlines have opened up. It's going to be a long route as we slowly open up international routes as well. Let's bring on board Jitender Bhargava, the former ED of Air India. Mr. Bhargava, thank you for joining in today. You know, you often say that this is absolutely unprecedented, what we have found ourselves in the midst of. Do you believe that, you know, and of course, not to mention, the result is cuts in salary, cuts in, you know, the count as well of personnel in aviation companies. And I guess you can't blame the company as well, right? With expenses piling on, but revenues being limited. Do you believe that as we come out of this, we are going to see aviation companies in a much more leaner fashion than they are currently?
Relatively speaking, one can say yes, we'll be better off in October as compared to this month, better off in January 2021 as compared to October 2020, but it's a long haul for the airlines. Airlines are not going to be able to regain the pre-COVID-19 traffic levels for another 2.5, 3 years. There are varying estimates of IATA, various airlines. Qantas, for example, is not going to be operating flights till 31st of March. There are many other carriers who are in deep trouble at the moment. They're downsizing their fleet. There are no passengers flying. It's not just Indian market, it's globally. The only redeeming part for most of the international carriers is, so they were mega carriers, but their governments have still extended financial help to them, either by buying stake or by giving financial help to help them pay salaries of the employees, etc. Whereas in India, our government does not have that kind of financial muscle that it can extend financial help. But even as relief in taxes, etc., has not been forthcoming, that's something as I would say the government has been unfair to the aviation industry. Now, when you say about the employees, etc., let's look at it. Whether airlines are flying, earning revenue, etc., at the moment, only 20-25% of the aircraft are flying. So when you don't have revenues coming in, but you have fixed costs to bear, like leased aircraft have to be paid, the rentals have to be paid, staff has to be paid. Now, what do they do it? Now, I've been very clear and I've been very emphatic in it, that only those airlines which take hard decisions will survive the pandemic, and those who go soft will collapse in the near future. Now, that is why employees need to appreciate that airlines, without adequate revenues coming in, they cannot bear the cost, the current costs. So they should, in my opinion, volunteer to take cuts. Otherwise, you see, I would also like to take you back to the Jet Airways days. In March 2018, Jet Airways management had pleaded with employees to take a salary cut. All unions of Jet Airways rejected the idea of it. And what happened 12 months later was that Jet Airways collapsed. I don't want a repeat of it. So it is in the wisdom of employees, in their own interest, that they must take the cut and allow the airline to survive. Indigo, for example, a very cash-rich company. Now what has happened to it? They are the first ones who have taken the gone ahead with the salary cut, etc., and must applaud them with a very humane touch that they've done it. Let other employees follow suit and do it, and only can they do it. It's a long haul, as I said. Domestic operations, the government has allowed them to fly 45% of the flight schedule that was approved before the COVID-19 had come in. Now, even those flights that they're operating, they're not being able to operate, I would say, and they are flying with a load factor of 40-45%. No aircraft on an average, for example, flies full. Airlines are resorting to last-minute cancellation because they don't have adequate passengers. So on the horizon, there is no hope coming in as to what would happen. So the only way airlines can survive is cutting costs and cutting across the board.
Right. Mr. Bhargava, I wanted to understand, we've been talking to a lot of investors in the aviation pack. They say, yes, the overall travel will come down globally. Of course, they have written off FY21 as a year, but people may travel 80% of what they do, but sooner or later, things will start to pick up and there will be consolidation. So survivors will actually do very well. Do you think that there will be a huge consolidation in the sector? across global. They were also talking about Asian airlines and, how there are a lot of airlines which will get consolidated, specifically in Asia.
You see, it's a natural thing. When you cannot sustain losses for a long time, you would require somebody to buy out. But at this juncture, no airline would be interested in even consolidating, because all carriers have surplus capacity. They park a large chunk of their aircraft in the desert because they're not going to be usable. You see, the best way of judging how the airline is going to unfold in the near future would be what is the normal constitution of a flight load of a passenger that we have. There are business travelers, there are leisure travelers, there are people traveling to visit for social engagements, etc. There are international tourists coming to India and then traveling domestically, etc. None of this is happening. You need a trigger. Now, when the weddings are not taking place, the social engagements are not taking place. When business meetings are not taking place, seminars are not taking place, conferences are not taking place, people are not going to be moving from one place to another. The fear of coronavirus is the second thing. The quarantine on arrival is another deterrent. So you have a multitude of factors at the moment which are deterring people from taking a flight, and this is not going to ease out very clearly. We are seeing wherever the flights are operated, a lot of countries, including India, some states, have imposed embargoes on it that you can't operate because of the lockdown, local lockdowns on weekends, etc. So this is going to be a phenomenon which will continue. And then the reality is that because India has already emerged as the third largest coronavirus infected country, you will not have very many countries allowing people to fly. Let's take what UK has done only last week. Spain had managed to control coronavirus. There are 1.8 million British tourists in Spain. Now, British government has imposed an embargo from the next 24 hours that you cannot come back from Spain anymore. Now, what happens? So this uncertainty will also keep the passengers away. And once the airlines lose for a long, long time, and you do not have deep pockets, and we all know that in the last 10 years in the aviation industry, competition has been cutthroat. The earnings per kilometer of passenger flown, what we call yield in the airline parlance, has not been very significant. So when you don't have huge reserves, and a prolonged crisis of this kind will take a huge, huge toll. And the only redeeming part would be how much can an airline save, cut costs. And to hope that the domestic operations, even in India, will expand in a large way, I don't think it's going to happen, because the trigger to make a person travel is non-existent at the moment.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for us. Really short on time. Otherwise, we would have liked to continue that discussion. That was a discussion on the aviation pack.